Good evening. It is Thursday, October 24th. This is the meeting of the Mendon Conservation Commission. The meeting is being recorded and we have a member attending remotely, so we will be doing roll call votes. Commissioners will now introduce themselves and our agent. My name is Carl Hummel. Leah?
Leah Whiting, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Bob Sweet,
Susan Cahalan?
Mike Mandolin,
Okay.
Tim Icardi.
Oh, hi, Tim.
I did.
Great. So, see if Peter shows up. The first part of the meeting is good and welfare for the public. This is an opportunity for members in the audience or attending remotely to speak on an issue that they wish to bring to the attention of the Conservation Commission. We would not make any decisions or deliberations based on what we hear, but we might decide to investigate further and ask our agent to look into the matter. I don't think we have anything for that now. So we would move right into the public hearings. Do we have anyone from 85 Realty for the first one? Okay, so we'll pass by that one. We'll move on to agenda item 5, notice of intent for 39 Millville Street. And we have a DEP number 2180858. You can come on up too. Presentation.
Good evening, I'm Anna Cavalieri with Garrier Howland, and we are the applicants. And so for 39 Millville Street, we, our initial plan, I've included 3 plans that I was corresponding with Isabella today. We had our plan lost about 2 weeks ago, and since then we have staked out the proposed wall location, and after discussions during the Conservation Commission hearing, sidewalk, and then meeting with the applicants, we've amended some of the scope of work based on feedback that we received during the law. So this plan that's up on the screen right now really shows what we're proposing at this point in time. And we'd like to get the commission's feedback. The application is before you for construction wall, as well as some additional work that was done prior to filing the permit. So we're requesting a permit for that as well. We have the first thing is that we've removed the request to include an invasive species program as part of this. We've had a little bit more discussion. It sounds like there's been meetings with the lake committee and discussions on how to go about doing the invasive species removal. So right now, at this time, we're not requesting that be included in the application. The client will not, or the applicant will not be hand pulling anything, and they'll work with the Lake Association and file at a separate time if needed.
was removing the stock still an option? Are you still looking?
All of the free, yes, that we can remove. Yeah, that's still one that's being. Yeah, but at the end of the invasive species, there was the purple blue stripe. I believe was one of the major invasives that was there. They're gonna work with the Lake Association. It sounds like there's been some discussions about possible invasive species program management with the Lake Commission and working together with them. So it's universal.
And that way the cost of the wetland scientist would be spread across the entire lake.
Correct.
Yeah.
We did get costs for the program for residential. It was very involved, and there was a lot to it, a lot more than I even anticipated. So, for minimizing costs and knowing that it's going to be addressed at a later date.
Okay, well, that's something for Bob to look at.
So anyway, yeah, I just thought 3.
Okay.
I have no idea, Peter.
So we changed the length of the wall a little bit.
So this was what was submitted with the application, so that's what you're looking at, yep. This is the one that Isabella has up on the screen.
So the one on the screen.
And this.
One's called draft revised.
Next year, we've altered it from sort of.
And what was the reason for, changing?
So we had a sidewalk, a couple of weeks back with the commission members and Isabella, and the applicants, and, looking at where the proposed wall was in relationship to the bank flags, some of the trees that were going to come down, there are, I think there were about 5 or so established trees out there that are, you know, anywhere from 12 inches in diameter, to like 18 to 24, trying to avoid bringing those down. We are still proposing to remove the 2 double maples that are there. The applicants, not able to plant any additional trees, in the area. That one seems to be growing towards the quad maple, that we're looking to save.
Yep.
And this way it gets it out of the bank a little bit more, over time, if erosion does take place. But again, it is leaning towards the property, so this way it'll give the quad maple a little bit more room to grow. So the plan is to save the triple maple that was originally proposed to come down, and to, we were proposing to take down, there are some stumps out there, but I think that was the biggest, adjustment as far as the wall goes. We've also shortened it, to avoid the trees that are out there, so it's now about 50 feet long on the southern side and about 20 feet long on the northern side, so it's not gonna curve upwards. We went out there and looked at the stakes that were there, and it didn't look right with the property. It curved around and it didn't go in, so this way they'll do a taper on either end. You know, to blend it in with the grass. The land area behind it is, towards the house. The grading and the reveal on the wall is only going to be about a foot. Reveal on the back side, and on the front side, it's going to be about a 2-foot reveal. On the revised plan that have the detail on.
Are you still planning on doing riprap in the front of that,
Yes,
all the way down to the?
so we have about 3 feet of that, so, if you scroll down to the detail. So the detailed floor is a little bit deceiving, so I put some elevations on there so you could see, in comparison, the locations of where things will be made. The existing water elevation is roughly 399, that was measured in the field. One of the comments from DEP as well was to note the floodplain and talk with the commission and Isabella about what their thoughts were, but based on the floodplain or the water level when we were out there, looking at the elevation of the bank flags that are about 399.6 roughly, as far as the elevation of the bank flags, site observations, it appears that flood elevation is roughly around 399 to 390.6. So our plan is to start the riprap with the bank flags, go back 3 feet, trying to keep it as straight as possible towards the wall. That's in the event that there is flooding out there, and there's freezing that's associated with it. We talked with the wall contractor, and the purpose of the riprap is to prevent damage from the wall in the event of ice buildup. And then the bottom of the wall, at the bottom of the riprap is 400, and the top of the wall would be 402 on the lake side and 401 on the back side. If you look at the,
So again, 402 on the big side, 401 on.
I'm sorry, 402 is the top elevation. You have 400 on the lake side and 401 on the back side.
For the dirt.
For the dirt, yes, sorry. So if you look at the existing conditions, we did get some, if you scroll up a little bit, there's spot shots in the, right behind the wall, in between the no disturb and, the wall, those are 401, which is what we're trying to maintain at the back of the wall. 402 is about halfway up in between that and the existing patio, so really just leveling out that area. There's not a whole lot of material that's going to be coming in. It's close to existing grade. It's just smoothing out some of the areas that aren't a 401.
What kind of machine are they going to use?
We're going to suggest that in the conditions that it's, the small machines, something like a mini with, that's appropriate for that type of work, no giant excavators and,
303, 305, something like
Yeah.
that, something small.
something small to do that, come in on the north side. No, not, because they don't go to the septic system. So as far as the wall goes, I think that covers what's being proposed. We do have some steps on there, that would go up to the line as well. They're proposing a match similar to what they have for the patio, which is the granite steps. Nothing leading up to that from the house, no, walkway or anything like that. It's just gonna be the existing grass.
So you're going from the 401 down to 399, no?
Yeah, so it's still one, maybe two steps to
Yeah.
put, and that'll go up to the bank flags. It won't go beyond the bank flags. And we moved that location to the sand area. So it's already an area that's kind of sloped in that direction, which is why the wall got short. Also, we shifted it a little bit, so it reflected the sand out there.
Do they plan on over digging and putting stone in?
What was that?
They're gonna over dig before they lay the granite in, so they can put stone in to set the granite on, or they're gonna put it right on existing material.
That ties in with my question is the new wall, do they expect to have to excavate down below the water level and worry about dewatering while they're constructing?
So the dewatering, may be an issue out there, because of the lake and where the water may be. So that's something that we're talking with the well contractor on. We did talk to him about, what would happen, if you're encountering water out there when you're digging, to put the footing in. He said he would dewater, pump it if he had to, and put it into a tank, and he put it in a
Right in
tank.
the
and
middle
get
of
rid
the lake.
So, but we'll make sure, but we know we have some adjustments to finalize in the plan, so we can incorporate that into a project narrative to incorporate
Okay,
conditions.
yeah, I definitely would, if you think you might have to dewater, like you mentioned last meeting.
We'll put a protocol together, and if that can go into the conditions, if the watering is encountered. this is what you gotta do.
Yeah,
Go on.
you have a filter that, in mind, if it's silty, because of dewatering, whether you're gonna pump it into a tank, you just said, right?
Not right now, so we can incorporate that between now and the next meeting. We'll talk to the wall contractor and find out what his typical protocol is if it comes into, ground. And we'll get that.
If he's digging on the 399, you shouldn't come to water.
So we'll make sure that we address that in the, updated submit. Okay.
Any other questions, comments?
Yeah, I got a few. So does Peter. Excuse me so much.
Okay,
Well,
Peter,
my first one is
okay, Peter, can you introduce yourself?
Peter Coffin, 3 Old Sawmill Road. You got the erosion control all along the property. But these are the wetland and the green. Can that be the edge of construction, and can we keep erosion control there, or what's happening in this corner?
Mike actually has the updated plans. We sent them over to Bella today.
This is the,
So that area originally was proposed to have invasive species pulled out, and we were looking to do a protocol to get those removed. That's been removed from the application in its entirety. And the plan that's up on the screen right now is the proposed wall erosion control. Is going on the east side of the flags there. It's not going.
East side, not in that corner. Thank you.
are there any abutters on the north side of the property?
Yes, there is a homeowner.
Pardon me?
There is an above on the north.
I don't see it's listed here. That's why I'm wondering. You listed the ones on the south side.
Yeah, we can add that. to the plan.
Can we confirm we got a green card from them?
So the abutter to the north side is
That 65 tax?
Great.
And whatever machine, whether it's a mini excavator on tracks or a mini rubber tire backhoe, how do you plan on getting down? Which side of the house are you going down?
North side.
On the north side?
Not the septic systems.
We all got this.
You got enough room between the house and those arborvitae's?
Yes.
Will you be trying to get a small truck back there to haul material out?
We'll have to talk to the contractor, honestly, for the needs and methods, I'm not sure, but we can,
That'd be nice to know what the means and methods are gonna be.
we'll get some information, input from Travis.
You have other points or questions?
Not at this time.
Okay, I think I'll finish up with two. First, Mass DEP did declare that our region is in a drought, retroactive back to September 1st, so the water level is very low. So that can be factored in. The other question I have is conservation. I think this is part of what I was reading is about. We were in the previous one, I thought I saw that you. This plan doesn't say anything about existing plant location or where you're planting. Is that now in drop or is it just an omission?
No, it's it, right now, that's really wanted to get the wall clarified, the drain is still there, it's still showing on there, going off to the northwest side, into a contour 400, I do adjust the grading in that area.
Okay.
But that's still proposed as part of the,
Okay, I guess I just didn't recognize the
I
right,
don't have to call out on
I
it.
didn't see the right line. Okay. If there's no other discussion and you would be asking for a continuance, then it's time for someone to make a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
I have one suggestion, is if you're gonna replace the trees that are coming down as on shade on the bank edge. The other one, I think, one of you mentioned, I see turtles going all the way up to the uplands further in the woods, so I don't know if you wanna maybe plant, rather than put the trees back along the wall, you could also maybe put some sort of habitat corridor. Some sort of, if they had more shade going on, to make sure they have.
Put in a ski chair lift for the turtles?
I love the point that, on the septic side, there's a drive, there's like a little driveway there, and that's all shaded there. I think that's where a lot of the turtles on that side. It seems to come on both sides. So we were going to leave both sides and just get the docks, I think that's up over to Jane's house as well. And there are plants that are letting us, that we could do some on the other side as well. Just give them some shade.
Kind of turtles.
I don't know what they are. They're just small little, I took a couple across the road, waiting to go across the street during the spring. I don't know this day and just regular.
Do they have little yellow dots on them?
Yes, yeah.
Painted.
Okay, any further discussion?
We could use a sign from the highway department that says turtles. Crop.
There you go.
I think James had said somebody didn't want.
Occasional ducklings too.
Okay, roll call vote, Leah.
Aye.
Tim,
Leah,
aye.
All right.
So
Peter, I.
My guy.
And chair votes aye as well, so it's unanimous. Thank you. And later on in the meeting, we will be deciding what our future meeting schedule is. You can reach out with Isabella and decide how you fit in.
Right. Sounds good, and then, am I safe to say that the proposed wall changes seem to be
Yes.
satisfactory?
Saving the tree, cutting down the tree that is in the middle, saving the one close to the edge, that's a great thing. And you're talking about bank management and turtle habitat. Yep.
Okay, great, excellent,
Great,
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. And so another observation I'll make for the record is Bob, can you repeat out loud what you told me about the Lake Association and invasive species management? Right.
The Lake Association into the Conservation Commission asking about invasive species, particularly the purple loosestrife. Asked if they could have any assistance in removing it. They reached out to Water and Wetlands. They are scheduled to come in and stuff. Yeah.
Okay. I thought that was only out in the water and now, you know, out in the property and take stuff. Right.
People with strikes, so they're gonna have to organize a separate permit.
Okay.
But that's not, purple strikes a thing, it's not.
Oh, okay. Well, that's fine. You're on the Lake Association liaison. Okay, so we're now ready to go back to agenda item number 4. Come on up. Notice of intent for 44 Uxbridge Road, DEP 218-0859.
Sorry I'm late, but we just got a DEP file number at 6:20. I was at home and like look up the email. All right, let's go. It's you know the number? Did you get it?
Right. Right.
What's the number?
859. 859.
You have a 12 to the plan. So this was originally started as we got an approval for a tight tank replacement for the building. Originally started, that's in the buffer zone, so we originally started with the filing for that. Then when we realized we're gonna be doing a notice of intent, the applicant asked me to include a repaving of the parking lot as part of that work. So what we've done is just extended a hay bale line along the interface between the edge of pavement and the pond, and then all the work will happen upgraded from that. Expect the tight tank replacement to take no more than 3 or 4 days. Grinding and cleaning the parking lots probably no more.
So do you have a comment or a response to the DEP comments that you read 10 minutes ago?
I feel I was hoping you wouldn't ask, but
Because they're talking about the straight shot stormwater.
yeah, and it's, do have a little bit of a grass area between the wall and the parking lot. I think the appropriate measure is just to put in a nice little biofilter swale there. Really just a little low point that the water can run off to, and most of it will infiltrate. When we do get a bigger storm, that water will just end up surcharging that biofilter swale. It would probably just be something 8 to 12 inches deep, enough to carry. There's not that much parking lot area there that's upgrading of that grass strip. And probably the most appropriate measure.
What are you thinking on the width if it's 8 to 12 inches deep? How wide?
Probably about the bottom would probably be about 1.5 feet, and then the sides would probably be about another foot, so probably 2.5 feet wide total.
Be tough to mow.
Tough to what?
Mow.
Yeah, I mean,
Goats. No, I'm kidding.
I think,
I'm gonna go 6 feet and have it go, so it's gentle swell, but.
yeah, you know what, that's an option too. I admittedly don't know how much space we have. But we can very easily, and if we could straddle it with a mower, if the grass and the swale is a little bit long, that's not a bad thing.
When I did the sidewalk, I observed that looks like it's been previously used as a boat launch. So if you have a swale in there, is that going to hinder the ability of someone to back a boat in there?
If you're talking about the area upgrading of the wall, there is a boat launch as the run out from the. This area coming down here. Yeah, so there's definitely a boat launch here. What we would do is basically on this side of the wall. Okay. Put the swale from the property line to the edge of the wall. And this would be left over.
I thought the stormwater coming from DEP was stuff is coming right down this way.
Well, this is all paved as well.
Okay.
And to your point, this is a boat launch. Would not be a good idea as well.
Right, that's why I asked.
Guess my question is, I'm sorry I wasn't on the sidewalk, but DEP's concerned with, I guess, site, runoff from your site, right, on the parking lot. I have a larger concern. Isn't the water coming right off 16 down your driveways on both sides? I don't know, in the rain.
I didn't notice that when I was driving by. Did you think?
No, I just know on the northern side, it's been historical, the sediment coming down and then getting out in the catch basins and almost causing a delta. So I didn't know if it was only in the catch basins or if it's on the streets.
Yeah, I would expect that there would be a slight hump at the driveway entrance so that any gutter line flow on Route 16 would stay on the state layout.
That wasn't my experience of looking at Route 16 further up, but I don't know. I'm sorry I wasn't on the sidewalk, but that, I understand that's not your issue, right? That's coming to you, so.
Yeah, they're gonna be modifying it too.
Redoing it?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we can definitely, when we repave the driveway, make sure that we no flow coming from Route 16 down the driveway.
Because
That's a great idea.
it's a matter of inches, right? 1 inch can make a big difference, right? So it's.
Yeah. If it's 1 inch below, a lot different than if it's 1 inch above. Yeah, you're absolutely
I'm not seeing anything, detailed for the retaining wall. Am I just not seeing it?
right. It's existing.
Oh, it's.
Yeah. The only work we're proposing to do is to install the tight tank,
Dig it out and put it in.
dig it out, put a new one in, and then repave the existing parking lot to the existing paved limits. That's the only work that we're doing.
Interesting. Where's the location of the existing septic?
It's in the same place as the proposed tank.
Okay, so that's what you're removing, right?
Yeah, it's like a cesspool.
Oh, okay. So you're gonna come down, dig that, get rid of that, put a new one in. Is that,
And in all likelihood, that location is gonna shift slightly up the hill.
sure.
Because right now, as designed, the bottom of the tank sticks above grade, so we'll be fixing that in the final place.
What are you gonna do, have a pump before you do the work?
Yes, yep. Yeah.
Okay, good idea.
Otherwise, the construction. Yes.
And the building's pretty much empty, so it's not like there's,
It's not empty. It's got some really cool cars in it.
it does, but really.
Well, that's
cars
that
don't.
was-
Are you going to be chewing up all the asphalt? Are you doing all the asphalt?
Yes.
So the whole enchilada?
Yeah.
And you're gonna have some sort of erosion control beyond just a little bit on the leach, or what's?
Yeah, it would run the full length of the seawall and the loading area. So there's a blue line that extends the full back edge.
So that blue line is
Yep.
gonna be,
Yep.
well, that's the blue is the existing edge of pond.
That's actually the hay bale line. The blue line is the hay bale.
Is that so?
There's retaining wall and that says existing edge of pond. Not seeing. This is the proposed erosion in purple.
Yeah, there's another figure in the plan, in the submittal that has, so that's the approved septic design.
Okay,
Then we overlaid the hay bale line and the hay bale, and it's. Because that's where we at.
so the erosion is along the edge of the blue there, basically, erosion control,
Erosion controls right along the edge of the pavement.
along the edge of the blue. Okay,
What we do is if we're gonna build a swale on the grass strip, we just kick that erosion control line towards the seawall. We still have about 10 or 5 or 10 feet there.
Is there any concern regarding those over the picnic? In our location?
No, boats are actually pretty light.
the question on the gutters, what happens? That's a big roof. What happens to the roof runoff now? It comes, just sheds off and goes onto the paving and
I don't know. Is it a flat roof?
I have no idea. I imagine it kind of looks, I don't have it in mind.
What's the address? I'll look.
Bring up Google Street View.
It's a big, that's a big roof.
What's
Where
the
should-
address?
Yeah, that's
44.
Tight tank that you can drive over, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, the tanks, precast reinforced concrete tank, so each 20 loaded, yep.
Right, it's an 8-inch wall rather than a 4-inch wall, right? Or a 6-inch.
It might be 6-inch wall, yep.
Yeah, it's
The
fine.
top, that's the key element.
At least it's like it.
So that looks like
I
flat
don't know
roof.
if the best part.
Looks like there might be, I can't zoom in.
Well, it's pretty
She's got it
flat.
up on the screen there.
That's definitely a flat roof as well.
It's like it has a little bit of water there by the arrow cursor.
Well, there's always some sits there, yeah.
Yeah, admittedly, Peter, this was just a sort of a repave parking lot question.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know, you know, where all the water ends up, because that's a lot of water coming off that roof, and if it's. There's no erosion because it's all paved, so it's.
Yeah, the pavement is broken up a little bit, but
It won't be after you put it a brand new,
it shouldn't be.
Very nice when it's done.
I mean, our other option is just to just sort of seal it with, you know, the asphalt black topping, and that's it. We prefer to repave it, and that keeps the pavement all competent.
So are you grinding right down to dirt or you're gonna leave some pavement there?
Well, what we'll probably do is grind up the millings and use the millings to regrade the millings.
So you can agree.
Yeah,
I'm betting that asphalt's not very thick.
no, and we're only putting 2 inches back.
Right. But I'm saying, he's saying try to mill a little bit.
Yeah.
No, I
You're
didn't
gonna see
know that. I just didn't know if they were going to dirt or not, because it seemed like in order to regrade and with the cracks that are in there, it make no sense not to go to dirt.
Right. And we don't expect to regrade any, I mean, we'll sort of skim it and compact it, but no changes in runoff patterns or anything like that. We just grind it in place, smooth it out, roll it, and then pave it.
Right.
Yeah. The hard part is it goes right up to the building, so it's gonna be a little bit. I would imagine we're gonna have to sort of peel some of the pavement against the building away. Can't really grind that close to the building. But everything else would stay as is.
Any other comments before I start summarizing?
I don't have a problem.
Leah, Tim, any input?
No, I'm good.
Okay. We were originally thinking we'd need a continuance because we didn't have DEP number and comments, but we do now. You're saying that the DEP comment about stormwater management, your proposal is to have the swale in the part that's not the boat launch.
Right.
And Isabella, is that something that we would be able to write up as a special condition, or do we need to have them come back with an updated plan? I'm trying to see if we can close this tonight or if we put it off for until our November 14th meeting.
Depends on what the wants to see for stormwater management.
Right.
Can I?
I'd like to see a little detail on the swale. I don't know, it's just gonna be 3 foot wide or 1 foot wide, or I don't know, it's.
Can we make it contingent upon us submitting an acceptable detail and still close the?
That
hearing?
works for me, yeah.
Yeah, I like you
At
guys.
least that way there we have something that says it's either the way it was supposed to be or not. You know, just a conversation about what it could be is open to interpretation, but a detail that gives concrete information should be.
Yeah, and I'm perfectly comfortable if you condition the approval upon submitting an acceptable detail for the swale to Isabella. It's not terribly
Well,
complicated.
you know what, let's go one step further. Let's decide what the acceptable swale is. So you don't have to.
Well, it's gonna take him some time to come back to there.
Right,
Yeah, I mean, there will be standing water for a period of time until it infiltrates into the ground. Which
Which, what, 48 hours? What's
it's
the,
gonna depend on the source.
Okay.
But that's kind of our reasoning for keeping it not too terribly deep, that even if it's only 6 inches deep, just through evapotranspiration and take up by the plants, it'll probably be gone in a few days. I would imagine the soils at that level are pretty permeable because it's probably fill material. But for the purpose of discussion, I would suggest it be a 6 inch swale. Why don't we just say it could be sized to store the first half inch of runoff? from the surface.
You really should find out whether or not the roof drains drain onto the pavement, because that's gonna increase the amount of water. Friendly,
Yeah,
you know, a fair amount of water would be coming off of that roof.
Yeah.
Half-inch of rain on a roof that size is gonna put a lot of water into that swell, almost quickly.
yeah. Well, in that case, we would size it for having to run on pavement on the roof, and then if we found an issue with that, then it'd still say the swale still serves value, it just stores a little bit less water. And what's important is like, so we get that first flush from those. The important things for these swales is that when you get a really small rainfall and it's washing all the contaminants, that it can store that smaller rainfall. The bigger events tend to sort of have so much water that the contaminants don't represent so much of a problem. But I'll take a look at that to confirm from Peter's standpoint where that roof runoff comes. If we can keep it out of that swale, we'll try to do that. But we think the swale's a good idea to have along the edge of the pavement.
Now, it's gonna be closed into the swell,
It would
because
be,
you got the boat ramp on one side, and I assume somebody else's property on the others.
It's just basically a ditch to capture that first flush. We use those a lot for like edges of paddocks and things like that. There's no infrastructure, there's no piping, there's no outlet control structure. It's just rather than the water running off, going over the grass and into the pond, it runs off, goes into the swale, sits there. And then what can infiltrate, infiltrates, and then if we get bigger events, it just does what it used to
And the nice part about that swell is it's also gonna pick up all the oils and whatnot that are gonna run off that pavement.
do. Yeah, especially that, yeah. Yeah, it's as a sort of a slow containment measure, yeah.
So I'm okay with that, as long as you can meet the design guidelines of handling all the runoff that's gonna hit there, because that's a big roof.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay, so the stormwater condition should deal with not just the existing asphalt area, but we also want to say you need to deal with the roof unless the roof has some other kind of drain going someplace.
And what we can do too is if it's a downspout, since we're regrading the parking lot, we could just bury the downspout, run it past the swale.
Or put in a little rain garden right there. at the-
Good try though.
What's that?
I said, that puts it in the lake, doesn't it?
Well, but it's.
Gonna dip the lake eventually.
Runoff is generally considered clean and not subject to water quality measures.
I thought you weren't supposed to dump water directly into the lake, whether it's run up.
No, there's no issue with roof runoff going directly to without treatment. Unless it's a metal roof. Metal roofs require special treatment.
So before I ask,
No. It's rubber. Well, I'll find that out, but I would assume you always say it was rubber.
before I ask for a motion, I'll ask the people who are aware of this technically, are you comfortable that Sean and his company will be able to come up with a design that meets the performance standards for runoff from the roof and the asphalt?
I'm
Well-
comfortable with it.
I'm comfortable, and if not, we'll have an argument, right?
Well, that's, yes, if you could make it subject to the administrative approval, then that gives us some latitude to.
Right.
Right, I'm looking to say, can we come up with a conditional motion? And you're saying,
Condition motion, but that we need to plan with stormwater being attenuated as in order of conditions.
okay,
And then if it's, you can't make it work or whatever, you need to come back, for minor modification or
It's actually perfect.
something like
Okay.
Because then it becomes a performance standard. It's a part of the condition of approval.
okay. So can you say out loud what you think the motion should be so that Mike could say so moved?
Well, it should be a condition in the order of conditions.
Which
So-
means that it's subject, the language you typically put in is it's subject to an order of conditions as drafted by the agent.
Including a condition requiring.
Right.
Runoff treatment. of-
Right.
I'll make that motion.
We'll expect you to turn it into something for the minutes.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Roll call. Leah?
I guess, yay.
Okay, Tim?
Yeah, Tim, I don't think it could be any worse than it already is, so anything is an improvement there.
Bob voted yes,
Aye, Susan. Susan.
You're right.
My guy.
and chair votes aye, so that is also unanimous.
Thank
Great.
you, guys.
And you'll be able to work with Isabella on your final details next week.
Early next week.
All right. Moving on to agenda item number 6, this intent for 18 Lovell Street, DEP 218-0855. This is for the Vandervalk Winery building. I don't see anyone here. See AH on the Teams meeting. Is this for this agenda item?
Hackinson.
So we will, without anyone here, we'll just defer this until our next meeting.
Yeah, I don't think they're coming. They have proposed a septic system or soil absorption field within 25 feet, and they can't do that under 25. Board of Health needs revisions too.
Okay,
I thought it was 50 feet. Septic system.
Yeah, so they have to pull it out.
And it looks like it's, this is 20 feet equals, an inch equals 20 feet.
they're
It's 7
commenting,
inches off that.
the comment in the plan was that they wanted to preserve the lawn. So one of the issues for the Conservation Commission is we think, how we feel about them wanting to move into the BVD area to preserve the existing. But since they're not here, we will defer that conversation until they come back with the Eagles plan or an update. Okay, so get a motion to continue.
I move to continue the hearing.
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll
On
call.
Lovell Street.
Leah,
Aye, Leah, aye.
Tim, I.
Aye.
Susan, aye.
You're right.
My guy.
chair, aye, so that is also unanimous. Our perfect game. All right, so I think that's all our public hearings. So would now move on to additional topics of discussion. Agenda item 7, extension order of conditions for Lake Nipmuc treatment. Isabella found out something very interesting about this OOC, so I'll let you give us information about
Joe Arado reminded me that the Lake Month annual leaf treatment permit expires November 6th. So if we were to extend that permit, we need to do it now. However, the original permit is on 60 Oxford Road, which is the Trinity American Noise property. And the original notice of intent submitted in 2014 was for hydro breaking at 60 Oxford Road. And for some reason, it's morphed into the aquatic management. So I talked to the Benoits, and they weren't aware that the extended permit kept being recorded on their deed every 2 years. That creates a cloud if they were to sell, and I don't think that's appropriate. So I think the commission should close their order from 2014 that got extended every 3 years, and then we'll have to hire water and wetlands to submit a notice of intent.
For what property? Put it on the beach house or it's got a.
either beach or town hall.
For the town hall. Okay. So, okay, some that we own. Well, that would be good. Yeah. So can we do that without them stopping work? Because they're pretty much done, right?
They wouldn't be doing treatment again. June. So they have all worked there to get it permanent.
Sounds like a plan.
So I would recommend I don't think I wrote it, but a certificate of compliance for DEP number 218-0725 for 60 Oxford Road.
I'd like to have that created, or do you have that created now? If not, then
Just have the signature page, but the work, there is a report from 2014 when the hydro rating occurred. So,
okay.
the work happened.
Okay, so then I think people comfortable with issuing the COC now and getting the signature at the end of the meeting?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, all right, so this is something, a motion for to issue a certificate of compliance.
I'll make a motion to issue a certificate of completion. Worked on Lake No.
Second,
Moved in, any further discussion? Roll call, Leah?
Leah, I.
Tim, I.
bye-bye.
Sue, I.
Peter, I.
Mike, aye.
Chair votes aye, so this is also unanimous. Okay, and what this means is it will be part of our budget. We'll keep this on our plate and it will be dealt with January, February. Do we have an estimate of how much money would be paying in addition to water and wetland to do this work?
It'll be up to the commission whether they want to go back up to bid or. Water and wetland gave a range of 4,000 to 6,000 to the if we want to try and lower costs, do all the butter notices. Or I could do it, which I don't know. So we'll have to.
Well, we don't want you doing that. We want a clerk doing it. That's a conversation I've had with her.
It'll be like over 100 notices. So.
Okay. Which is probably why it got extended every 3 months, every 3 years.
Blinky sign. Go around and vote.
No, we need a legal notice.
Yeah, well.
All right, move on to agenda item number 8, 42 Millville Road. Discuss expired order of conditions, DEP number 218-0711. Isabella?
So I spoke to Rick Corcoran and his wetland scientist, and last December for a barn permit. And we were discussing the open order for house in the back. I had a really long driveway crossing and wetland replication that hasn't been done yet. And so there were some complaints that there was too work and trucks entering the property. I've spoken with Rick and he's not going to do any more work within the buffer zone, and Margaret's going to be submitting a notice of intent for the remainder of the work. Building permit for the house, the single family house construction is on hold with the building commissioner. There was a foundation permit issued in 2014, 2015, so the foundation is there, the house is on hold. So that's, I don't know how far it gets.
What's the problem with trucks going in and out?
They didn't know, well, because there was being work done within a wetland, there was no existing order of conditions. So the existing orders expired.
Is the driveway in the wetlands?
Yes.
I just want to understand why someone's complaining about a truck going in and out of a piece of property.
Yeah, so there's no open order, it's a wetland crossing, 2 wetland crossings for
Is that an existing driveway or is it a driveway?
the driveway. It was built in 2014. But they hadn't performed.
And they haven't done the wetland replication yet.
So we have a verbal representation from the owner and their wetland scientists that they will be coming before us in the future with future documentation. My question for the longtime members who are familiar with the owner and this parcel, should we issue an enforcement order as a way of making sure that they follow up with their verbal commitment, or do we let it, or we just wait until they come before us?
Are they scheduled to come before us? Are they aware of all of this? Or?
Have something in 3 to 4 weeks, and Tim also spoke.
As long as there's going to be an order that we can have control over, I'm okay with.
I mean, if they said, yeah, we're gonna work and not ignore it, I don't see the need for an order, but if they're gonna just ignore it.
Okay, so what I would say is to put a little tickler that at our first meeting in January, if we have not heard anything, then we'll slam the with an enforcement.
Sounds right.
Fair enough.
You can let them know that we're going to follow up with them at that point. All right, moving on to agenda item 8, emergency certification for highway beaver dam. So, right, 9.
And there's 5 sites around town that consistently the beaver dams are built, and they typically break them only in winter when the water levels get really high. So he wanted to go in and make sure all the culverts are cleared now while the water's low and not near dams. So this would be for the commission to ratify the emergency certification. Under the Wetland Protection Act, I can sign it and then the commission can ratify it, but that's also another discussion. You won't need to do that or not.
My first question is, why does the highway department need permission if there's an existing culvert to go in and clean the culvert out? Is it because it's in a BVD, a BV?
Yeah, well, culverts are jurisdictional if it's water, they're
Okay.
stream and pond. So they can't work in their culverts without notifying the commission.
Okay. So,
This is a maintenance issue.
The
okay,
preventative maintenance, yeah.
okay. So the first question is, do we want to approve and allow the highway department to clean stuff out in the next couple of weeks?
Yes, we do. I do.
Okay, anybody who doesn't think that's a reasonable idea? Okay. So there is a motion, so if someone can make the motion.
I'll make a motion to allow the highway department emergency approval to maintain the culverts
5 sites.
at 5 sites around town. Good enough there?
Yeah, there's a helpful motion already.
Okay. To remove material and debris from beaver dams blocking culverts at 5 sites.
Okay, is there a second?
Second,
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Roll call, Leah.
Okay, I'm gonna say yes, but we need to talk more about being better to the beavers. Having a better plan of action. This I think is okay because it's preventable, but beavers in general, I think we need to, have a bigger discussion, but I say yay.
Okay, in the future, please say something like that when I ask if there's any further discussion before we actually call the roll call.
I think in this case, it's okay because it's to
Right.
maintain culverts so they don't flood. It's an emergency thing.
Okay, Tim.
Tim, I.
Bye-bye.
Peter, I.
Mike, I.
Okay, chair votes aye, that passes unanimously. We'll now take up the question that Isabella raised in terms of in the future, whether we want to authorize our conservation agent to approve this sort of emergency certification and then bring it to us at our next meeting for approval, as opposed to holding up the process and having us have to have the conversation first.
I think the agent should be able to give emergency approval and then it gets approved formally at our next meeting.
Okay. Any further issue?
I trust Isabella in her decisions, but I think that anytime we deal with the beavers, it's always a case by case kind of thing. So as much as I trust her, I think there will be fluctuations in every situation when we're dealing with beavers. So I'm a little uneasy in that part of it.
Now,
More and more every year.
I think for these sites, John Dudley's had Beaver Solutions evaluate the culverts and they don't see being able to offer a solution. I don't think there's another company that does work that we can get a long-term solution, but
Okay, any further comments on this?
So do you feel that you need a formal motion to authorize the conservation agent to get a warm fuzzy feeling because we're saying this?
I mean,
If you want, you can research that and get back to us at a future meeting. If you check with your peers and they say that as department head, you can do that, or if you feel that you need a formal vote.
Help me again, though, because the Board of Health can do it for emergency reasons,
Septic systems.
for septic.
the Board of Health does the beaver trapping permit.
Beaver trapping as opposed to a dam.
Culvert cleaning. I believe I heard you say previously, either in a meeting or to me, that Jeremy's town admin is looking into an overall beaver across all of these departments. Is that, am I misremembering? Okay,
It's not standardized.
okay.
Are beavers an endangered species?
They're a keystone species.
They're what?
Keystone, are an important species
To who?
to others and
They
They're like-
create,
Biodiversity.
they create habitat and biodiversity. They are
Like
very
bears.
important.
They're like bears, they're at the top of the food chain. Okay. I'm gonna jump ahead a little bit and Leah, what you were just talking about is something that fits into agenda item 16, good and welfare for the commission, where you as a commissioner speak on something you're concerned about. And so I believe the outcome for this would be for you to work with Leah, and at a future meeting, you can come up with an agenda item where you express what you want to do about our town's beaver, well, about the Conservation Commission's beaver policy. Is that, I'm trying to say, I'm listening to what you said
It
during the
does,
vote.
it does, but I'm not sure it's jurisdictional. We have control over the resources in the water, but not over beavers. That's the problem. So I don't know if we have the power to even come up with solutions.
Okay, well, then I'm just saying, I'm hearing your concern and feel that you can follow up with it and do something that is jurisdictional, then we will
But-
discuss it at a future meeting.
But
Thank
they
you.
live in areas that are jurisdictional.
the problem is we don't have a beaver policy, right? We're just responding to emergencies. that
Mhm.
pop up.
Yeah. That's a good point, Peter. Maybe that's something I can do, is do some research and talk to some beaver, what other towns do, and just do the legwork so we can have a plan and be prepared instead of just responding, without information.
When you're doing that, will you also look into when is it considered a nuisance animal if it's overpopulating an area? Because, I mean, John's dealing with 5 beaver dams right now. So that must mean that there's 5 water sources. And I know that we did a beaver solution thing earlier this year, and there was one before that one too, so
I
it
know.
seems like
That's
And-
wildlife.
Yeah, and I think the issue is that we can take down the dams, but the beavers will build them again. We can kill beavers, but more beavers like beaver habitat, so they come back. So we got to think of some, different ways to, come up with solutions. So we're not just doing the same thing over and over and over again. It's actually costing us a lot of money if we have to do it again and again and again. And yes, there are places where the beaver solutions contraption doesn't work. So I need to do the legwork and figure this out.
Okay,
Is there
so,
a hunting season for beaver? Is there an open season?
beavers are trapped, they're not hunted.
Right. And they're also, you have to be licensed. It's not like there's an open season on beavers.
and it's expensive.
I need to do it anymore because beaver pelts go $10. It's a lot of work for little reward.
No.
And then if you trick the beaver, or if the beaver gets out of the trap, it won't come back. So then all your work out there putting the traps up, spring up.
It won't come back to that spot or?
It won't come back to that spot.
So So why aren't we trapping them in a trap that will let them go and they'll,
illegal. You
You
can't.
can't move wildlife.
Because they're gonna keep coming back, they hear water running there.
So they get,
Can't stop the deer.
Part of the problem is that we're building in habitat that beavers like. So a beaver doesn't just, a beaver will only go to habitat that suits it. And so we build houses right on the edges of things and there's beavers. So it's a problem. We have to figure out a better way to deal with it.
Well, if you can come up with one, then we'll discuss it at a future meeting. Move on to agenda item number 10, North Avenue Trail easement and Muddy Brook North Trail easement. Review proposed trail easements on North Avenue and Muddy Brook North that would support the special town meeting warrant articles.
That's where I'm at.
Yes, they were in the agenda files folder, and
Okay,
Isabel will be able to bring them up. There's two different apps.
I'll find it.
so this is something that me, Dan, and have been working on, proposing two trails, and we're hoping to have them a little bit longer than just the town's property. So the first one is starting at 3 North Ave, which is the location of the senior center, the fields. It's gonna start there and go down Muddy Brook North, which is a protected area with a CR down here, and we're hoping to have it extend onto Brookview, open space. There's a condo association here that we've been talking with about getting the easement. So the warrant article for 31 Brookview Lane is to have a trail access agreement here. So looking to see if the town will accept that. We have $40,000 donated from the storage units, and then we also have a parcel here from the solar field. So it may be a bigger trail system eventually, but we are working with Conservation Works, who's gonna assess the stream and the best place to cross it and maybe have a boardwalk there. And then we're hoping to have at least the parts that are on the field and hopefully down to the boardwalk be ADA accessible. So that would be a good benefit for us.
Where would ADA parking be?
The parking will be in the field.
Okay.
The trailhead would start at the field, up here somewhere. Exact locations.
Like it's all across from the school at that point, wouldn't it be? Because they already have, what, a bank or something going in on the corner?
The bank is on the corner here.
Right.
That's pretty far away.
is there a proposed cost to this?
The design for Conservation Works is 3,500 and there's already CPA funds for that. So then, once the design is done, they'll do a construction cost estimate.
What we're talking about at tonight's meeting is that conservation restrictions are part of, they're jurisdictional for Concom. So the request is if the town decides to move forward and have a warrant article that the Conservation Commission would sponsor that, which means that instead, and Mazar getting up and reading the motion, I would. My understanding is that they've looked at it and said that it's more appropriate for me and Concom to be making the motion at town meeting as opposed to Ann Mazar and land use or Ann Mazar CPC.
Well,
Makes sense
it's
to me.
not the Conservation Commission owns this house. So you're steward.
Well, whose idea is it for this?
So you acquired this property in the 2010s and it's been sitting there unused, so you need to get the public access.
Whose idea is it to create the trail, walkway, whatever? Whose idea is that? Is it Concom's idea?
Probably in Mazars.
Then she should be making the motion.
Well.
It's not our idea. Is it your idea? Or is it this board's idea?
I think it's a good idea. She made the idea suggestion, and if
Well,
it's our authority, then it should be us who are involved in doing the plan, but. And it's our agent now who's working closely with it, and we got the
You're missing what I'm asking.
which is,
Did we take a vote to formally to back this? Is that what we're doing?
That's
Or
what,
is it,
that's what we're doing.
are we taking a vote to allow them to do it on conservation land?
Yes. Do we like this idea of trails on these trails? Do we like that? Would you want to see that trail built?
Isabella, is it something that has to be done? Because it's conservation land and it's being unused, so that, is there a penalty for it being unused for any reason whatsoever?
The purpose of conservation restriction and the reason we have the land is for public access, so building a trail that people can use to access that is important. Whether or not you want the trail to continue up here for the warrant article, you don't have to do that, but so I'll just finish. So the two trails, we're also looking at North Ave on Maple Farm, the other conservation restriction that was acquired this year. And
The reason
that
why-
one is gonna go. So eventually we'd like the two new trails to connect. And then you could walk all the way from Hopedale Street to Milford Street,
Who's we?
the public.
The reason why. I'm
Where are they gonna
asking
park?
is there's a lot of internet.
Park on my lawn, they're dead.
No, there's parking in the agriculture, surely
Yeah.
back to Jones
Yeah.
agriculture.
Seen it.
So it had been talked about at the town meeting, right?
Yes, when we were discussing acquiring this CR at town meeting, there was discussion about how we were planning on creating a trail. And we would be working with Hopedale about having the trail extend into Hopedale. We would try and extend the trail all through that valley area down to Route 16.
Again, who is we?
The town meeting.
Who is we? Is it the Conservation Commission? Get up and ask that, or is it community preservation, or is it the Parks Department? Because I don't remember taking a vote to just promote that.
There was a CPA at the town meeting, and that the discussion was, wouldn't it be great to have trails? And that there are all these trails. And someone also in the negotiation with the solar panels, they thought it was such a good idea that they put up money to make it happen. So there's a,
Work. And so CPA is responsible for finding the money and the, stewarding the ideas, but it's all fallen on the Conservation Commission to steward the land and manage the trails. That's the Conservation Commission's duty. That's in the Conservation Commission Act.
And I will add in the actual conservation restriction for this parcel, and probably the one on Route 16, it explicitly says that it is available for recreational use, passive recreation, including trails. So when the Conservation Commission over the summer voted to say, yes, we like the CR, we said we were in favor of having trails on that parcel.
And so this trail, all of this is on Maple Farm from here. This is the Shirley Green Agricultural CR. So the easement is gonna be, the easement in the warrant article is this part. It may or may not move any further, so the trail might actually just stay on Maple Farm and come through this way. So the warrant article might not make it any further. It's whether the commission wants to sponsor the article or not.
Well, I'm going to jump right up here and say, I cannot sponsor anything without all the facts, what the cost is, how it's gonna be built, what the plan is. I don't see a plan.
Right now,
So-
we're just looking at the easement, do we support the easement? And then the trails and the design, the condos will probably come later. We're not there yet.
Is there a cost for the town to accept the two easements?
No, because Harris is paid, town council is paid for an amount yearly, it's not per hour.
Okay,
So her granting the easement, my labor hours of going out to the property owners and.
which is
talking about the easement.
which Jeremy is managing. And your question about planning, that will be covered by CPC funds, so it won't come out of the Concom budget.
Don't break out your lawnmowers and your. Nice. My husband has heavy equipment.
So any further discussion before we have a vote on whether to sponsor the two warrant articles?
If you want CPA to sponsor them, they can.
Well, first we'll have a vote on whether we sponsor it or not. If that vote fails, we will have a vote on whether we want to recommend that another town agency sponsors it. So any further discussion? Okay, roll call. Leah,
Nobody made a motion. Oh, sorry. Yes. Right, I'm sorry, jumping ahead. Okay, someone needs to make a motion.
Is there a recommendation?
I make a motion to
Yes.
support this.
It's on
As
the-
a conversation.
it's on the bottom of the motion sheet.
I don't have a motion sheet.
Sponsor the two warrant articles as drafted for the two trail easements on 131 North Ave and 31 Brookview Lane.
I make a motion to do what Isabella just said.
Is there a second?
Peter seconds.
Any further discussion?
I agree with you. You know,
Well,
you should have some idea of what this costs. Right now, I understand you're saying it's $3,500 for the plan.
Well, what
Doesn't
I'm
have to pass the-
specifically looking for is, do we want these two easements? We're not talking about the design of the trail or anything, but do we like the idea of the trail extending further?
Mhm.
You know, so that the trails are longer, do we want to move forward trying to get easements?
But then also put you.
Well, since there's no decent sidewalks, I'd agree with that.
no, here's the legal issue. Only town meeting can vote to accept easements because the property works. This is completely separate from a future town meeting warrant article if they ask the town to spend money, do anything further. So they're separating out. They can't go and spend money to design things until the town says legally how we want to do it. We want it, we approve of the easements. So that's why they're only do accept easements and not saying accept easements and allocate X thousand dollars to develop trails.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Okay, roll call. Leah,
Leah, I.
Tim,
Tim, I.
Bye-bye.
Sue, I support.
Peter, I.
May,
Chair votes aye, so passes with one no vote. And I'll follow.
Elections coming up? Or,
I think this needs to, it's just,
oh, okay, I was just curious.
well,
As the person who would be sponsoring this, as the chair of the
people in planning and that all of those things are addressed. Okay. Flipping the page to agenda item 11. Oak and Well Farm Preserve, review and sign management project for the farm preserve on the in the south.
Yeah, so Peter told us last time, but we did receive the land grant, they saved us $6,000 to acquire 200 there. So this is a signature page agreeing that the town will move forward with acquisition and getting the conservation restriction. And so this will be sent as a project agreement for accepting them. So it's just.
Okay, so it's Tim, Leah, one or the two, Mike is bumping in and out. Yourself. Thank you. Move on to agenda item number 12, discussion on selecting peer reviewers for future permit applications.
Yeah, I wanted to put on the agenda just to have opportunity, I think I'd like to get a professional wetland scientist who's kind of in our pocket of if we need stuff peer reviewed, we know we can send it to them, we know how much to anticipate the cost. And I think it'd be good for the communication, we'd like to have them having more things peer reviewed. And so I wanted to see if other people had a specific firm or person they wanted to quote from if I were to bring that to the meeting. And estimates on new residential versus stormwater management reviewer. Enforcement.
I have, would heartily recommend Brandon Faniff. He does work for the Sutton and the Douglas Conservation Commission, and he's a local boy, and he kind of understands both sides of the game, if you will. But there are other firms out there as well, but
Sorry, I think I sent you a list a while ago, so there's a whole bunch of people on that list too.
Yeah.
Oh, where's
The
that?
other thing I was thinking, thought a peer reviewer we really like is have them help us write our regulations. We have our bylaw that makes the 25 no disturbance, 50 foot, no build. You need the regulations to go with it. So what are the performance standards? What is allowable? What isn't? And that's out of my knowledge grade to write, so I think it'd be great to maybe have someone contracted to start working on that.
Do other towns have those performance standards that we could use as a starting
Maybe
point?
we could copy and paste from somewhere else
Uh,
if we wanted to.
But then we don't know what we're actually, better if we have someone who can educate us on what we're actually copying and pasting.
Bellingham has a really great, they have the same setbacks as we do, but they have with great regulations. Better written by definitions, so that's the start.
you might also ask her on what other towns, what does Bellingham use for a consulting engineer?
UCSC.
Do that? Yeah.
Hey, Leah, you know what date you sent that list? Approximately.
Ask me, Susan, ask that one more time, please.
The list of, consultants you want to put together?
I can send that to you, Susan.
Okay, I was just gonna look for the date. Okay.
I think I sent it to Isabella. I'm not sure if I sent it to you as well, but I have it here right on my desktop.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, let me look at it.
Okay.
I'm familiar with a lot of the firms out there.
Okay.
Maybe my competitors.
Would we want different firms for different types of evaluations? Is there one company that, I mean, I know we've had Graves help us with stormwater management reviews.
Mm.
What other sorts of peer review requests would we be looking to do?
I think you can have one that's probably a smaller, just a professional wetland scientist if they're only going out to confirm the delineation. And then you need a bigger firm that does stormwater management to review these things.
Because in my experience for wetland flagging, we've had members of the commission going out and digging core samples and looking at ferns and arguing about, no, you should move it over another 25
Oh,
feet.
they, what's her name, right? Mayor? No, not me.
So you're going to, the expectation is you're going to be getting this information. You're going to look at the names that you've been given tonight and come back with that more.
Well, if you all are interested in that, like, not interested in having the regulations written or having people peer review.
I'm willing to have our regulations and drag us into the 21st century.
I think it's.
We can split up the list or something.
I think it's a good idea.
Where's the funding?
So Mass General Law, Section 53G sets up that applicants must pay for peer review fees.
Coming up with the peer review list is part of what is her 30 hours a week. And reaching out and contacting them and finding out if they want to get in a working relationship with us.
if the commission wanted to have the regulations updated, then that would be paid out of wetland property. And if there's, that can only go towards wetlands. Or
I think we need to up our game.
Okay,
Totally.
any further questions or comments on this? If not, we'll move on to agenda item 13, future meeting dates. Second Thursday in November is Thanksgiving. The second Thursday in December is the day after Christmas. So I don't really want to have a meeting the day after Christmas. My question is, do we feel that we need to schedule off-cycle meetings for November or December, or do we kick the can down and talk about it again the second week in November?
If it's not that busy, let's not do it, right? Or we can always,
say you can do November 14th,
Yeah, middle of the month, yeah.
December 12th would be the two.
there's one
You
meeting in
could
November,
move
and
it.
one in December. Yeah.
You could move it to December 5th and December 19th. Still have two meetings in December.
Well, typically in past years, they've only had one meeting a month in the later months because there's no work being done.
So people won't submit the meeting doesn't exist, so.
Let's go with it once a month, and let's review it at the November. If something comes in, we can shift to 2 in December, but still have.
Then future meetings would be November 14th and December 12th.
Yes, we'll stay on the second ones. All right.
That
Uh,
works. Thanks, guys.
Yep. With that, we'll move on to agenda item 14, updates. Chair, Conservation Agent. We received a letter from Attorney Brodsky earlier today. Isabella, can you bring that up about 133 North Avenue?
Which one is that one?
What numbers?
It's the one that you're in a butter for,
Oh, okay.
What numbers?
133 North Avenue.
Okay, so that's not on here.
No, that's why we're talking about it as part
It's a
of
letter.
the Conservation Chair update. We'll not be deliberating, but I wanted to share the communication, and then the purpose of this part of the meeting is to say when we're going to talk about things as a future agenda item. So.
So what does that say? What's the gist of it?
Is it in SharePoint?
Yes, it's on. Put it in SharePoint.
Oh, I can read it.
Is, okay.
There you go.
Right, if you scroll down a little bit, the top part is recapitulating the work that's been done previously. So we asked the commission to consider a request for determination of applicability regarding the improvements that have been made. We appreciate the Conservation Commission would have expected such RDA before the improvements, but I still think this is the best path forward. After it has had an opportunity to review the RDA analysis that will be provided, and then it will be up to the Conservation Commission to determine the appropriate next step. If this is acceptable, we would expect that we can complete the necessary field work and submit the RDA by next December, by mid-December. Provide another status report next month. So that's what their request is. We're not going to say whether we like their request or not at this month because we don't have an agenda item. At our November 12th meeting, we will deliberate on whether we will approve, ask them to submit an RDA for December, or we say, no, we want you to do some other kind of thing. Whether we will at that meeting want to issue an enforcement order. So this is informational here. I wanted to make clear that even though 134 North Avenue has been unilaterally superseded, we are moving forward and making incremental progress on 133 North Avenue.
Works for me.
Okay, so Isabella, your other your conservation agent updates.
Town council's reviewing the gas scale conservation restriction that was sent out to her last year. So making progress on potentially having select board accept that. That was the one with the turtle management, so working with John Dudley for highway to make sure that the infiltration basins are maintained so that we don't have trees in our infiltration basins. 35 Hastings Street, the grocery store is going through their NEPA review, so there was a state meeting. Dylan, the town planner, and I both went and listened. They asked a lot of the questions we went over, so it was pretty straightforward. So I assume they're gonna get their state permits in November. 7 Nipmuc is the parcel on the end of the lake on Route 16. They're proposing a bed or a granite back furnishing warehouse. It's in planning board, but if any conservation commissioners have comments or want to review the plans, I have those. My only comment is that they're upstream of the lake and the UW system, so unless and until there is absorbed erosion impacts, it would be a worrisome to us.
They are outside the 100-foot.
Susan and I went to the MECC conference on Saturday, that's fun. And
The stormwater is very interesting.
yeah.
She's like, already, where is it?
And then there is a parcel 11 Trask Road that might be donated to the commission. We're waiting. It might have to be surveyed first, but that's something that also may come our way. And then there were 2 NOIs, 27 and 29 Pleasant Street that were submitted. So that'll be on the November 14th meeting, and I'll get everything scanned and sent out tomorrow or Monday.
Is there an update on the water test?
They still haven't gotten their state go ahead from SEP.
I thought they were gonna do it 2 Tuesdays ago. So,
They did they cleared the access lanes, everything was set up to start, they need to go ahead.
so they haven't started the
haven't done-
test?
They haven't done the pump test now.
They're behind schedule.
Isabella, is NESHP aware of 27 and 29?
Yeah, they submitted their mailings at the same time they submitted us, or they even actually did the NHPS meeting last week. So they'll have, so we should probably have their public school board hearing.
So we should have that by November?
Yeah.
Okay.
We got a report on the Nisco Springs project from Deshane. Anything interesting in there?
And then we got a lot of inspections, but we also got 45 Oxford Road did their second round of well sampling. And the Board of Health is getting those results. So they passed their
That's
45
after
day
that's after the blasting. And what's up with 23 Cape Road? They still filling? And we haven't had any rainstorms, so you haven't gotten any report on that. Lake Nittany Task Force, and you told us about this.
Right, they shut their meetings from now until May now.
Okay,
So they won't have another meeting until May.
okay. There was a land use meeting last night, right? I
There
saw an
was.
agenda for it.
Yes. It was mostly about the senior center. Sure there's anything to report.
Can I ask about one thing, or do I wait for number 16?
Go for it.
I just want to see if 13 Bellingham Street responded to you at all, Isabella?
They said they're gonna get me a management report, but I can send another reminder. Otherwise, the commission can decide to enforcement. if we're not getting fall managing report.
What's a managing report? Because what we had required is that they clean up all that silt.
Yeah, sorry, I mean, just like a update report from the website.
Well, I can tell you from driving by there that nothing has been done. It doesn't look like they're planning to do anything, but there's a nice big fence and a nice big lawn now. And nothing, it does not look like any work has been done to clean up or even start the plan that they submitted.
I can follow up again unless you guys want to do something else.
Well, here's my recommendation. You do a drive-by or, and contact them. And if you think the situation warrants an EO between now and our next meeting, go ahead and write the EO. Otherwise, notify the property owner that we will have an agenda item to discuss what action to take on that parcel if on the agenda for the next meeting. And at that time, we would review what's going on, and they were encouraged to show up. And if they don't, we will have to decide without their input whether we're issuing an enforcement order or not.
So let's review what the problem is.
They had constructed a pool and deck without permits within 25 feet. And then they did that riprap slope, the 3-to-1 slope without permits. And there was sediment in the wetlands on that side. So they were going to remove the sediment and do plantings along the edge and then also stabilize the slope to keep the riprap from falling in.
This is the site that they came in and talked with us over the summer. Yeah.
They came
We took a slope bank, like about a 35-foot long slope bank, and brought it up and flattened it out to put a back patio in. But I mean, they brought it up by like 7-8 feet.
He said,
So
last
now-
email. What's happened? I will get you the report in the next.
That the owner or who's?
Professional wetland scientist on the email.
What's the owner's name?
Angelo Gilarducci.
Angelo?
9 + 14 = 23. October 9th + 2 weeks = yesterday.
What's his last name? How do you spell
GUILARDUCCI.
it? Say the last few.
EUCCI.
Just feel like they're missing that window of opportunity to get that silt out of there while it's dry.
Does look like they put their bushes around the edge though. I drive by there often too. And it looks like they have their plantings on the edge of the bank. I don't know if it's in the slope like they were instructed to.
Is that the house they just put a brand new lawn in?
Well, it's got a new fence and stuff like that, yeah.
When was the
It's
last
right
time-
before Millbrook River. It's the
When
last
was the
house,
last time you drove by there?
3 days ago, 2 days ago.
I didn't notice any trees the last time I drove by last week.
What was that?
She didn't notice it.
Didn't they drive by then?
But I think they put a brand new lawn.
They may have.
They did do a lot.
And they did see.
But if it's the house I'm looking at, I go down that road twice a day. In the morning and at night coming home, because I'm working in Franklin.
Right, it's the last house before Millbrook.
Right, so they could have put the lawn in on the top, but they do the work on the slope, is the question. And that's the,
That's why I want the guy's name, because
yeah.
I'll
Can't see
just
it.
pull right in
There you
there
go.
and knock on the door and
He was very, he worked with us and his daughter and his wife, they were embarrassed a little bit, but they seemed to be,
Okay, any further updates? Any further good and welfare for the commission issues? Okay, we'll Take a step backwards to agenda item 15, review and approve minutes for September 26th, 2024. Do I hear a motion or
I make a
discussion?
motion to approve the minutes for September 26, 2024.
I'll second that motion.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Roll call. Leah,
Leah, I.
Tim, I.
Bye-bye.
Susan, I.
Peter, I.
Mike,
and Carl, chair, votes aye as well, so passes unanimously. All right, the items not anticipated in advance of the meeting that we have not already discussed. Ready to hear a adjourn?
I move that we adjourn.
I second.
Roll call.
Leah, I.
Tim, I.
Bye-bye.
Susan, I.
Peter, I.
Mike, I.
Okay, passes unanimously. See you.
Good night, everyone.
See you in 2 weeks.
You're on November 14th, right?
Yes.
Okay,
November.
awesome. See you guys then. Bye-bye.